So, if you've been scrolling through the news lately, you've probably seen some wild headlines. Trump halts Project Freedom. Iran's Masterstroke. Peace deal done? Sounds like a movie trailer, right? But here's the real question. Is the US-Iran war actually over? Short answer, not quite. But we might be really close. Let me break this down for you. No jargon, no politics speak, just straight talk, like we're chatting over coffee. Because honestly, this isn't just about warships and missiles. It's about your gas prices, your grocery bill, and whether that vacation flight gets canceled. So let's get into it. Hello and welcome. I am Kevin Taylor, and you have started watching The Truth Global. Now here's where Project Freedom comes in. Back in early May 2026, Donald Trump announced this new US military operation. He called it Project Freedom. Kind of a bold name, right? The idea was simple. The US Navy would help guide hundreds of stranded cargo ships out of the Persian Gulf, through the Strait of Hormuz, and back to open sea. Trump said it was a humanitarian gesture to free up ships and crews stuck for weeks, even months. But let's be real, this wasn't just about helping sailors. It was a direct challenge to Iran's blockade. Think of it like this. Iran had put up a road closed sign on the world's most important oil road. And the US said, nah, we're driving through. So the US sent in warships, drones, and even cleared mines to open a safe path. For a hot minute, it seemed to work. A couple of ships made it through. But then, poof, just 48 hours later, Trump announced it was being paused. Just like that. So why did Trump flip the switch so fast? Here's the thing. Project Freedom didn't go as planned. Iran didn't back down. In fact, they escalated. They fired missiles, launched drones, and attacked UAE oil facilities, all while claiming the US was violating the ceasefire by sending warships into the area. And get this, one of America's closest allies in the region, Saudi Arabia, wasn't happy either. According to reports, they blocked US warplanes from using their airspace to support the mission. So the US was suddenly fighting a battle it couldn't fully back up. Plus, Trump's got bigger fish to fry. He's about to meet with Xi Jinping in Beijing, and he really doesn't want to show up with a war still raging. So pausing Project Freedom? It wasn't a defeat, it was a reset. A way to say, hey, let's talk instead. Trump isn't just eager to end the war. He's being pushed hard by political and economic pressure as the 2026 midterm elections approach. Here's how it breaks down in simple terms. Gas prices are killing his approval. With gas over $4 a gallon and inflation rising, voters are angry. The war caused a global oil shock by blocking the Strait of Hormuz, and now Americans are paying the price at the pump and the grocery store. Midterms are coming in November. Trump's Republican Party risks losing control of Congress. Wars are unpopular, and voters tend to punish the president's party during midterms, especially when the economy hurts. His base is split. While some MAGA supporters back the war, others, especially those who voted for Trump as a peacemaker, are uneasy. If they stay home in November, Republicans could lose key races. Allies aren't helping. Even Saudi Arabia blocked US warplanes from using its airspace, making military success harder and diplomatic exit more urgent. Markets are watching. Trump cares deeply about stock prices and economic signals. With the IMF warning of a global recession, he's rushing to make a deal before more damage is done. So no, he's not helpless, but he is cornered by politics. Ending the war isn't just about peace, it's about survival in the midterms. Now, when people say Iran's masterstroke, here's what they mean. Iran didn't win with tanks or missiles, they won with strategy. They let the US launch this big, flashy operation, Project Freedom, then made it fail without starting a full war. They fired warning shots, they kept the pressure on, they made it clear, you want peace? Come to the table. And now? The US is the one backing down. It's like in chess. You don't always win by taking the king. Sometimes, you win by making your opponent offer a draw. And right now, Iran's playing that game very well. So, could Trump go back to bombing Iran after the midterms? Here's the real talk. Yes, it's possible, but not because of Epstein and not just because of Israel. It's about leverage. Let's break it down. 1. The Epstein angle. Mostly noise, not fuel. You've probably seen the wild claims. Trump's hiding Epstein files. Iran's exposing the elite. But here's the truth. Iran is using Epstein as propaganda, not as a real trigger for war. They're pushing conspiracy theories on social media to divide Americans and weaken support for the war. It's a distraction tactic, not a policy driver. Trump isn't restarting bombs because of Epstein. But if a deal falls apart, those same conspiracy theories could be used to justify escalation. We're cleaning house kind of rhetoric. 2. Israel's role, ally, not boss. Israel definitely wants a strong outcome, especially removing Iran's nuclear threat. But right now, Israel supports the ceasefire. They're not pushing for endless war. In fact, Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel backs Trump's pause, as long as Iran opens the Strait of Hormuz and gives up enriched uranium. So Israel's not dragging Trump into war. They're watching, waiting, and preparing for every scenario, just in case. 3. The real reason bombing could return. The deal or no deal. Trump has been crystal clear. If they don't agree, we bomb. He said it on PBS, in tweets, in interviews. His message is simple. Sign the one-page deal or face much higher intensity strikes. It's not about midterms anymore. It's about legacy. Trump wants to say he ended Iran's nuclear threat, one way or another. And if Iran says no, he'll likely resume bombing, not to win a war, but to claim victory before it drags on. 4. What happens after midterms? If Republicans lose seats, Trump may feel less pressure to keep peace, and more incentive to go big. A major strike could rally his base, distract from losses, and feed the strong leader narrative. But it's risky. More bombing equals higher oil prices equals angry voters. And this time, there's no election to blame. Bottom line? Trump isn't powerless. He's playing chess. He'll keep the threat of bombing on the table, not because of Epstein, not because Israel demands it, but because threats are his best bargaining chip. Peace isn't guaranteed, but war isn't inevitable either. It all comes down to one question. Will Iran say yes? We'll see. On the other side, Netanyahu is trying hard to keep this war going to dodge his corruption trial and silence the opposition. Let's be real, it sure looks that way. Netanyahu is currently fighting a corruption trial back home, facing charges of bribery, fraud, and breach of trust. If he loses power, he's just another guy in court, possibly facing prison. But as long as he's prime minister during wartime, he gets delays. He gets protection. He gets to say, sorry, can't show up to court, busy saving the nation. And guess what? That's exactly what's been happening. Since the war started, his court dates got pushed. His testimony paused. He even called the trial an absurd circus during a war press conference, blaming the courts, not his actions. Plus, wars do something powerful. They unite politicians. Suddenly, the opposition stops attacking him. They rally behind the flag. Even rivals like Yair Lapid have said, no left, no right, just Israel. So yeah, the war helps him. It shuts down criticism. It delays court. It buys time. And now, he's pleading for more time. Not just in court, but in the war too. He wants to keep fighting, keep the emergency going, keep the spotlight on Iran, not on his legal mess. But here's the catch. The Israeli public isn't dumb. People are tired. They've been running to bomb shelters for weeks. Gas prices are up, kids are in uniform, and polls show it. Support is slipping. So while Netanyahu might want to drag this out, he's running out of runway. Because in the end, wars end, but trials don't forget. So is the war over? Not officially, but we're close. Right now, both sides are working on a one-page memorandum of understanding. Basically, a short agreement to stop fighting and start real negotiations. What's in it? Both sides lift their blockades. US stops blocking Iranian ports, Iran opens the strait. The US lifts sanctions. Iran agrees to freeze its nuclear program for 15 years. And here's the big one. Iran would send its stockpile of highly enriched uranium out of the country. Now, it's not signed yet. Iran's still reviewing it. And as we've seen before, these deals can fall apart in a heartbeat. But for the first time in months, there's real hope. All right, let's bring it back to your life. Remember how gas prices shot up to $6 or $7 a gallon? Well, as soon as news of a possible peace deal broke, oil prices dropped. Fast. That means gas prices could start coming down in the next few weeks. Grocery stores? They've been struggling with fertilizer shortages. If the strait reopens, that supply chain gets fixed. Your tomatoes might stop costing a fortune. And airlines? They've canceled thousands of flights because of jet fuel shortages. If peace holds, expect fewer cancellations and maybe even lower ticket prices. So yeah, this isn't just geopolitics, it's your wallet. So what's next? Iran has until Friday, May 8th to respond to the US proposal. If they agree, the ceasefire gets extended and real negotiations begin. If not, Project Freedom could restart, and that could mean war flares up again. But for now, we're in a fragile moment of calm, a pause, a breath. And honestly, after months of tension, that might be the most important thing. So keep an eye on the news, but also take a deep breath. We might just be turning a corner. If you found this helpful, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment. What do you think? Is this the end of the war, or just another pause? And hey, next time you fill up your tank or grab groceries, remember, the world's connected in ways we don't always see. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next one.